whether you said it or you don't say it, there's nothing independent from which that can be verified, not so? Except what you're saying.
No, but that's not correct. I made available the copies of my diary, which clearly indicates, my lord, during the trial within trial, that he was warned according to his Section 35 rights. That those copies of the relevant dates, including the 30th of May 2020, was made available to the defense, including Advocate Mnisi.
Actually iqiniso ukuthi into nje engiyikhulumayo noma ngishoyo leyo ngomlomo incwadi ngangibhala kuyona ke lokho kubizwa ukuthi phecelezi ke idiary ngakunikeza ke la enkantolo na njengengxenye yobufakazi ama date ke ufaka phakathi ke nale date yange 20 zika May 30 May 2020.
Thank you, Brigadier. I don't know if I had anything to do with the diary. I'm not so sure if the state can help me, my lord, just to determine the exhibit number of the copies of those diaries. I don't know if they were even handed to court. But if I can be assisted with the copies, with the exhibit number of those diaries, I don't mind to go throughout the night, just to go and page through the stack of papers that is there at my office, just to come to that paper. Whilst the state, my lord, is paging through also the stack of papers that I have there, we will put that point in abeyance. But let us proceed along those lines, Brigadier. Now, in that diary of yours, now, what information is contained?
It's a summary, my lord. It simply indicates the accused's name.
Yes.
And I think to the extent that he made a confession and that he was made aware of his Section 35 constitutional rights. And I think it also refers to Colonel Mboto and his mobile number that I used at the time to find him as the person who was willing to assist with the confession. And later on, when you called me to say he is done, and then that I should come and take the confession statement from him. That is a summary of what I recall in that diary.
Engikhumbulayo ke okhona kule diary ebhaliwe laphana isifinyezo nje esilaphana uKenneth Mbotho inamba yakhe ayisebenzisa ukuthi ngixhumane naye ke kamuva sexhumana nami mase ngitshela ukuthi angize ngizothatha ke istatement leso amagama akhe ke igama nesibongo sakhe umsolwa nokuthi ke futhi ke wagonyuluka noma wenza ke istatement leso ikona nje okubhaliwe noma okukhona lapha.
Now when was that information written in that diary?
On the same day, my lord, 30 May 2020.
Loko ke kwabhalwa ngaleli langa ke langa 20 May 2020 lapha kuleya ncwadi noma kuleya diary.
At what point? When I say when, I mean at what point? When what was happening?
It was written, my lord, so you will interview the person or engage the accused. After we go to Eraton, then I will document what transpired. Leading up to the time after I had a discussion with Colonel Mboto to say he was done, and then that I should come and take the statement from his office. After that discussion, I documented what he told me.
Okwenzeka ukuthi ke ubana nokhulumisana naye ke umsolwa hambe ke sekuyiwa eRathini kuleso sikhathi ke emuva kokuthi ke semxoxisene naye ngikhulumile naye ke uKenneth Mbotho ke lapho sengibhala phansi ke okwenzeka.
In fact, my lord, it starts from the time I receive a call, now that I recall, to say accused one is arrested and is making some form of admissions, to the arrangements when I go to Fosloras, The time I think is there. It should be around 1900 hours when I interviewed accused number 1, the notice of rights, then the arrangement of the conviction up to the time when Canon Boto said it was done, my lord.
Kuqala ke manje ke ngoba sengikhumbula ke kuqala ke la engithola khona kucingo ukuthi ke umsolo oqala uboshiwe kukhona ke akushoyo noma ke akuvumayo ke sengihamba ke ngiya khona ke fosola sikuyofinyelela ke ngesikhathi la uKenel Boto esexhumana nami ethi uqedile. Cabanga ukuthi nesikhathi ke sibhaliwe lapho ke ku7 wantambama.
And it was on Saturday, my lord. I do recall that it was on Saturday. That entry is on Saturday, the 30th of May 2020. It was Saturday.
Ngiyakhumbula ke nokuthi kwakungomgqibelo nge-30 zika May 2020 kwakungomgqibelo.
Brigadier, this is what I meant by my question. When you explained that now, according to you, when you allegedly explained those rights according to what you have said to accused number 1, and your and your assessment of his clear state of mind, sobriety, and insanity, when you were explaining those rights, were you also writing that information in the diary?
No, my lord. As I indicated, this is a summary. You summarize. I was not taking down a confession or a document from the accused. So I summarize what I was informed. I summarize my engagement. I summarize that I warned him according to his constitutional rights in terms of Section 35 of the Constitution. I didn't go step by step, because then step by step would require me to have a document, and that would have amounted to me then taking the confession myself. So I summarized my engagement leading up to the arrangement of Colonel Mboto, the mobile number I used to find him, and up to the finality of the confession, my lord.
Kwangasikona ukuthi ngiyangibhala ke konke okwakwenzeka ngoba lokho ke manje kwakuzofuna ukuthi manje sengifuna ke i-document ke kusho ukuthi ke manje sengithatha yona ke i-confession noma ke ugonyuluka kwakuyisifinyezo ke saloko okwakwenzeka ukuthi ngikhulumile naye ukhulumile noKenel Mboto kukhona ke lokho akuvumayo ke lokhu phecelezi ke bathi ke i-admitter bekungakuthi bengibhala konke okwakwenzeka.
So in other words, you went through with accused number 1, you went through that which you went through with Mboto, then later on you came and wrote, as what you said, a summary of what you did. In other words, what is normally referred to, you told me you're a legal student, as an ex post facto, in other words, an after effect thing, ex post facto. That is, you did that after you had done the interviews and everything with accused number 1 and calling Mboto and all those things. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's not what I'm saying, my lord. I'm saying as the events will develop, then I will record. Speak to accused number 1. When it was clear that he understands and he has been warned according to his constitutional rights, that will be documented. Then we move to Eraton, because when we left Fosoras, my lord, to Eraton, at that time, I had not found someone who can assist me with the taking down of the confession. So as we were driving to Eraton, I was phoning different officers who could assist. Up to the time I got hold of Colonel Mboto, who said, yes, I can assist you. So when I got to Eraton and when I heard his details now that he is willing to assist, and his directive is that accused 1 should be taken to Deep Kloof, then I documented that. So I was documenting the events as they were unfolding, not that I parked it, then later then I recorded what transpired. No. Event will take place. When I'm done with that event, then I record. Then we move to the next events, I record. So it was recorded as things were developing. For example, during the day when I received the call, I think it would have been around 1400 hours to say accused number 1 was arrested for the drug dealing case, and there was this form of admission. I recorded in my diary, and then subsequently then moved to Fostoras. After the activities of Fostoras, my lord, I recorded those activities. got to Eraton, I recorded the activities in terms of my interaction with Colonel Mboto.
Ngangibhala ke nanjengoba ke kwenzeka ukuthi nanjengoba ngashayelwa kucingo kwathiwa uboshiwe umsolo wokuqala uboshelwa ke icala ledakamizwa ngase ngikubhala ke lokho uma ngifika ke eForceLorus kwenzeka ke lokho kwenziwe eForceLorus ngakubhala ke lokho sindlulela eEraton lapho ke engangixhumana khona ke namaphoyisa ke ahlukahlukene ngaze ngafike ngathola yena ke uKolonel Mboto washo ukuthi cha angasiza angalekelela ke ngayo ke iconfession leyo nalapho ke wabesesho ukuthi ucela ke ukuthi ke umsolwa ahanjiswe amikiswe eDeep Kloof ngangibhala ngokwenzeka kwegameko.
Brigadier, please allow me to understand you. Because I earlier on asked you if you were writing this information as and when you were, for instance, explanation of rights, as and when you were explaining those rights, you will then write this information in your diary. Now, I want to understand it very clear. This noting of the information in your diary about your interaction with accused number 1 at the ForceLorus Peking Bay. When did that happen?
It happened, my lord, that night. So perhaps let me explain it this way, my lord. And I'm referring to the day in question. I received a call indicating accused number 1 is arrested for the drug dealing case, but he seems to be making admission on this matter. Obviously, during the conversation of that call, you can't say now where's the diary you want to record. I followed that conversation, it was concluded. After it was concluded, then I made the entry in terms of the diary. Then it takes us now to ForceLorus. I get to ForceLorus, I get introduced, I introduce myself. The formalities in terms of the notice of rights starts, my lord. We engage, we discuss, and then when that part is concluded, including him now being willing to make a statement freely and voluntarily, then I make that entry. Then we move towards now Eraton, between ForceLorus and Eraton. As we're driving, my lord, I'm embarking on a process of finding an independent officer who can assist me in taking the confession. After some strives, I got hold of Colonel Mboto telephonically, not the diary. I'm driving. This is now a third leg now of the process. Eventually, when he had agreed, I get to Eraton. When I stopped, then I made that entry because he already told me, yes, I can assist. Let the accused be brought to Deep Kloof. In the midst of that, I may have forgotten, my lord. After I got his confirmation, then I phoned Monareng. I think it's also contained in my diary because I knew that he was part of the people assisting to come and assist in taking accused number 1 to Eraton. So events will unfold. Then I record while they are still fresh in my mind. I'll record, but not that now. As I'm talking to Colonel Mboto, then it's impossible, my lord. Or as I'm warning the accused, then I'm noting the questions. It's not how it unfolded. That's why I said that would have been the case if I was actually taking the confessions directly to him, and I wasn't in this case.
Uma ke ngachaza ngalendlela ke ngiqale la engathola khona ke ucingo ngitshelwa ukuthi umsola uboshiwe mas emuva ke okumnoma ke sesiqedile ke ukukhuluma lapho ke manje ngoba ke awuthi uma ukhuluma ocingweni ubuza ukuthi ikuphi ke idiary uma qedile ukukhuluma lapho ila manje esengibhala khona phansi ke lokho engikutsheliwe siyandlula ke sidlulela khona ke eForceLorus yafika eForceLorus ngiyakhulumisana naye umsolwa ngiyazi uyethulwa kumina ngiyazithula kuyena ngimchazela ngamalungelo akhe ke bese siyakhulumisana sesiqedile ke lapho ila engibhala phansi ke lokho okwenzeke khona lapho siyadlula ke sindlulela eEraton nanjoba ngishayela ngihamba ngiya khona ke eEraton ngifonela ke abantu abahlukene ila engithola khona uKolonel Mboto futhi ke ngaleso sikhathi ke ngikwazi ukuthi ngikhuluma noKolonel Mboto bese ke ngiyabhala phansi kwidiary lokho ke akungeke kwenzeke ngoba ngiyashayela ke nokushayela mase engikhohliwe ke futhi ukuthi ke kuleso sikhathi la futhi engixhumene khona naye ke uMunareng ngimcela ke ukuthi akalekeleleke ukuthi kuthathwe yena umsolwa ahanjiswe asiwe khona ke eEratin nalapho mase ngifika khona ke eEratin ila engifika khona ke ngibhale lokho okwenzeka nokuthi uKenneth Mbotho wacela ukuthi akabe umsolwa esethathwa ke esiwa khona ke eDeep Kloof.
Now, do I have to understand you, Brigadier, to say that after your interaction with accused number 1 in the vehicle, when you took a decision that you should drive to Ireton, according to you, that is when then you made that entry in your diary?
Yes, insofar as my interaction with accused number 1, my lord, insofar as only that portion of our discussion, then it was followed by the events as they were developing, my lord.
Yebo ke uma kufika la khona ngangihlezi khona ke emotweni ngikhulumisana naye ke umsolwa eForceras mase siqedile ke lapho manje ngaphambilini kokuthi khanjwe ke kiwa khona ke eEratin lokho kwenzeka lapho eForceras ila manje ke ngaphambilini kokuthi ngihambe ke ngeEratin noma ngishayele ngibhala khona ke.
Thank you, my lord. May I just request a 1 minute indulgence, something that I need to verify with these things.
Yes, okay.
Thank you for the indulgence, my lord. Now, insofar as the interaction that you had with accused number 1, before you departed to Ireton, you then made that entry in your diary. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, my lord.
Thank you.
Engisho ukuthi ngaphambi kokuthi ngihambe ngeEratin ila engabhala khona phansi.
Now, Brigadier, you would recall that at the inception of my cross-examination on behalf of accused number 1, we dealt about the prominence and the high profileness of this case, not so?
I recall something to that extent, my lord.
Uzokhumbula ukuthi mangiqala ke ukubuza imibuzo sikhulumile ke ngo indlela ke noma ke ngogqama noma ke indlela ke icala leli ke ebelibona ngakhona malibuka ngakhona yebo ngiyakhumbula ke lokho.
I figured, just be honest. It was not something to that extent. We spoke about that. It wasn't just a light thing. You see, just be open, you know, since the court, I know Mr. Mnisi, I know you're right, we spoke about that. Not something like that. But with that as may, if that is your answer, then it's fine, let us proceed. In any event, we spoke about something like that. Thank you, Brigadier. And you at the time at which you got involved in this in the investigation of this case, you're already a seasoned investigator, not so? More than 25 years in the business, not so?
I have knowledge of investigation, my lord.
Thank you.
That's how I can answer it. Yes.
Engaphendula ngathi ke benginalo ke ulwazi ngokuphenya mala nokuphenya ke nkathi ke ngiqala ukuphenya icala leli.
I'm not so sure if the commissioner basically brought this to your attention and said, Gininda, actually then you're Colonel Gininda. You know, the reason why I want you to go and investigate this case is because of the confidence and the level of experience and expertise that you had in investigating. Is that how you understood the reason why you're tasked with the investigation of this case?
I don't know what informed the commissioner's mind, my lord.
Thank you.
All I know is that I was given a mandate to investigate, and I followed the mandate.
Angazi ke ukuthi yini eyaholela ekuthini ke ucommissioner anikeze mina ke engikwaziyo ukuthi nje kwathiwa kina ke angenze lokho ngalandela ke lokho kwathi angikwenze.
I can tell you, Brigadier, that the reason why the commissioner did that is because he he had no doubt that he will do a sterling job in investigating this case and come up with something material, and therefore not actually, because this case has been like a hot potato in the subs. Then they said to you, Brigadier, can you please assist us as a seasoned investigator? I could not have said that. That only comes from you, from me. That is my view.
I don't know, my lord.
Yes. Thank you, Brigadier. Now, Brigadier, because this was such a high-profile case, and according to you, you had already explained the formal rights of the accused persons to him, and you had noted the conversation that you had with him in the diary. Did you then request him to confirm by him appending his signature in the diary to say, yeah, Spear, now I want you to confirm that I explained this to you by signing, write your name and sign the diary, that in such and such a time, this is what I did, and such a time, this is what I did with you. Did you do that?
No, my lord, I didn't, and I'll indicate why.
Ingaba wakwenza yini ke njengoba usho ukuthi wakhulumisana naye ke usibiya ukuthi ke manje uthi ke nake nanje ngesiqinisekiso sibiya ngikhulumile nawe ngicela ke usayinde lana cha angizange ngikwenze lokho ngizoshoka ukuthi kwakungani.
Yes.
My understanding, my lord, of giving, let's start with the formalities. When you want an accused person or a suspect to sign in a formal document in terms of giving that person the Section 35 right in terms of the Constitution, we have a form called 14A. That is an official document in which an accused person or a suspect signed for receiving those rights, and then the person giving those rights then will attach the signature. Now, those are the formalities. That's the first part. That's the second part.
Engakusho ke ukuthi uma ngabe uthi umuntu asayindeke ngenkathi ke umtshela ke ngamalungelo akhe ngokomthetho sisekelo kuneform ke ebizwa ngokuthi ke i14A ila khona ke asayinda khona ngoba ke uzomnikeza eyakhe kanye nawe ke ekuwena umtshela ke ngamalungelo akhe bese uyasayinda.
I further know, my lord, that when you take down the confession, now you are writing it down, the form contains rights in terms of Section 35, and then the police officer or the justice of the peace or the presiding officer will then record what he or she notified the deponent, as the deponent will also sign, and that officer or the commissioned officer or the justice of the peace will then sign as well.
Futhi ke uma ngabe umuntu egonyuluka noma kwenziwa ke i-confession kuleya form ke esetshenziswayo lapho enamalungelo akhe ke ngayo section phansi kwakhe section 35 uyasayinda khona ke kanye nalo ekuyena othatha leso statement naye uyasayinda.
This is different, my lord, when you make entries on the diary during the course of investigation, because these are events that transpired. As much as the utterances that were made by accused number one amounted to a confession, but it was during the course of investigation. And as I've said, at that stage, I applied the best practice rule, which said it is best that an independent officer takes the confession. So it was a summary of my interaction. As I indicated, my lord, it starts from the time I reported on duty to the time I'm being informed, to the time of saying I've warned accused one according to his constitutional rights. It goes further to me mentioning Mr. Monareng, phoning him to assist. It goes to Colonel Mboto. It goes to right up to the end. So it's a summary. It's not a formal document where I sit down, put questions, elicit answers, and then at the end, the person before me must now confirm the correctness of the document.
Kuhlukile ke lokho la khona ke uhlezi phansi ke nomuntu ukhulumisana naye ke ngoba lokho kwenzeka ke ngesikhathi sokuqhubekeka ke noma uqhubeka ngalo uphenyo ngishilo ngathi iqale ngesikhathi ke ngiyiqala emsebenzini ngalelo langa ngase ngithola ucingo ngase futhi ke ngifonela naye ke uMonareng uKenneth Mbotho lokho ke kona ke kuhlukile kunokuthi ke kune form oyisebenzisayo la khona ke ngishilo ukuthi ke lokho isifinyezo saloku okwenzeka ngalela ngoba kuyingxenye yokuqhubeka kophenyo.
That's my response, my lord.
Iyona ke impendulo yami leyo.
Thank you, Brigadier. By the way, at the time at which you did this, were you already brigadier or a colonel?
I was a colonel, my lord.
Ngesikhathi ke kwenza lokhu ngangise uKenneth ngerank.
Thank you, Brigadier. Brigadier, you know that's a problem. When you not follow procedure, because we will always have explanations such as this one. There is nothing here at court which indicates that at that moment in time you explained rights to accused persons and he acknowledged that you had explained his rights to him. There's nothing, not so, except what you are saying as a word of mouth. Not so.
As a please, I don't think that is correct. We did make the diary available and the defense, all of them inspected the diary. This we can see from the proceedings of the 29th of November 2023 that the reference is made to the diary and how the information was recorded. And this information was made available to the defense. They inspected the diary.
As it is the court, my lord. Although I don't remember that diary being made available to the defense, but that's not an issue here. The issue is, what is it that is there before these courts to indicate that indeed, except for his word of mouth, Brigadier's word of mouth, that he explained those rights to him, which would indicate to this court that indeed, if you don't believe me, look at this. I explained your rights, and you acknowledged that I explained your rights. That's the point. There's nothing. The diary does not say you explained his rights. That is your own inscription. Not so.
My lord, that's not correct. The diary, what I said to the defense counsel is that I may not have recorded explicitly word for word to say, for example, you have a right to remain silent, and this was the response. But the diary indicates explicitly that accused number one was warned according to his constitutional rights. And when Advocate Mnisi gets to that diary, he will see that. So the rights were explained to him. I did that, my lord. And out of that is how Colonel Mbotho comes into the picture, because you can't engage an independent officer to come and assist you in taking a confession from a suspect when you do not know what the suspect has to say. It doesn't flow. You have to speak to the person, warn him according to his or her rights, understand that this person is willing to make these assertions freely and voluntarily. Then you can activate Colonel Mbotho. So Colonel Mbotho comes as a result of what transpired here. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there, because I'm the one who called him and say he must assist. Then, and I did testify about this, my lord, that when I received the confession statement from him, I realized that what is contained there, it's what the accused said to me. This is accused number one, where he implicated himself. He said the same thing in that document.
lana ke asilona ke iqiniso ukuthi akukho la khona ke kunesiqiniseko noma eshoyo khona ukuthi yiloko engakwenza noma engakusho kuyena ke umsola uma ke uadvocate Mnisi esefike seyithola ke le diary eyibheka ke uzokuthola ukuthi kukhona ke lokho engikushoyo ke la ngoba ke ngangeke ngifinyelele kuyena uKenneth Mbotho ngingakhulumanga naye ke umsola ngingazi ukuthi yini umsola azoyikhuluma kuyena ke uKenneth Mbotho ngoba ke waqala wakusho kumina ke lokho ngase mina ke manje ngikhulumana naye ke uKenneth Mbotho eqinisweni ke uma kamuva ke esengitshela kuKenneth Mbotho ukuthi useqedile uma ngibheka ke lesa statement lesa ngathola ukuthi okubhaliwe ke lapha ayikona lokho umsola ayekushilo kumina noma ayekhuluma kumina.
Sorry, where's that diary?
I've got it, my lord. It's in front of me.
Let me have a look at it.
As it is the court, my lord. In the meantime, my attention is drawn to accused number 1.
Yeah, fine, thank you. Let's show it first to Mr. Balui.
Yes, indeed, my lord.
No? Hello? This is the first time you see that document, Mr. Balowi.
No. No, obviously not, my lord. In fact, on the record, on the 29th of November 2023,
Now show it also to Mr.
specifically references made to the
Yeah, show it to Mr.
That is unprocedural, my lord. The trial cannot proceed in my absence when I'm still consulting with accused, and then there's a
Show
mini
it to
trial
Mr.
that is
Mnisi,
going
and then
on.
show it
It's
to Mr.
unprocedural.
Ramsipedi, and show it to Mr. Ngumalo.
I can't see, my lord.
Okay.
It's more of a hieroglyphic handwriting.
Yeah, fine. Show it to Mr. Ramsipedi and Mr. Ngumalo.
My lord, Mr. Sibia says to avoid him to call me now and then, he requested that I arrange for him a piece of paper and a pen
Yeah, no problem.
so that he can write things that he wants me to put across to the witness.
Does he write it in Zulu?
Yes, it's going to. Well, I don't know. how
No,
he's
that's why
going
I'm
to write
asking that
it.
question, because he
Yes.
doesn't understand English. That's the evidence before this court. Have you seen that, sir?
So I'm busy arranging that paper, my lord.
Okay,
in the
fine.
meantime. I'm going to be stapler now.
And your evidence, Ms. Brigadier, is that that diary was photocopied
It was photocopied
and handed over to the defense.
Yes, in fact, my lord, my recollection of the directive, the instruction of the court was that, because we had to adjourn, was that I must show the defense the original first.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And then after they saw and perused the originality of the relevant date, not only this date,
Yeah.
copies was made for all counsel, including Ms. Mshololo, and was given to them, including Advocate Mnisi.
Okay. Do you have that document, sir?
I confirm that copies were made available.
And you all have them, eh?
I can't speak for
Then at least you saw it.
yes.
At least you saw it. And Mr. Ngumalo, you saw it also.
I'm still reading my daughter to see if it's.
No, we're talking about the copy now.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what is written here.
No, we're talking at first purposes.
Purposes.
We're talking about the
Yes.
copy.
I've
Did
seen
you
it.
receive it?
Yes, I've seen it.
You've received it.
Yes,
Right. I'm the only one who never saw it. Can I have a look at that?
I'm about to finish, my lord.
Was it handed up, that document? It wasn't given a reference number.
No, it wasn't handed up. What happened, my lord, is that we all sat around the witness stand looking at the diary, and it was during the cross-examination of Mr. Mgomezulu. And
so the late Mr. Mgomezulu also saw that diary?
Yes, and the court said the brigadier must make the diary, not copies, physically available to all defense counsels. That's when we gathered around.
Is it on record there?
Sorry? Yes, it's on record.
Yeah, just read it so that people mustn't say.
Oh, okay, this was on the 29th of November 2023, page 16, line 2, Mr. Mgomezulu, may the matter stand down, and the court says, no, I was going to suggest that the brigadier must make his diary, not copies, physically available to all the defense counsels.
And you say that was done?
Yes. The court says, I hope nothing happens like when Mohane made a report so that you can all of you can peruse Brigadier Gininda's diary, because he says he was recording these things contemporaneously and I think you should read contemporaneously into his diary, and then if you have any problems with that, you can raise it under cross-examination.
Okay, fine.
Is it to the court, my lord, which is exactly what is happening now. I'm raising it under
Now, but the point is, you said there's nothing, I'm quoting you, to show that what the brigadier is saying was ever recorded. And his answer was, that is not correct.
Yes.
Okay.
The state says, my lord, before the court says, okay, the state says there was a little meeting there, every councillor was there. I wasn't there. I would not have attended that meeting. A little meeting at the corner where people are looking at the diary. I definitely wasn't there. I don't know who else was there, but me, myself, I wasn't there. Maybe Mr. Mgomezulu, yes, then he was representing accused number 1. He could have been there, but I wasn't there. Maybe, and simply because on the basis of the fact that this information does not even form part of the court exhibit, I don't know anything about it. But my lord, that is not the gist. This information in the diary here is not in dispute. I mean, if the court can really hear me and hear me well, the witness can hear me and hear me well, and the state, the prosecution, can hear me and hear me well, I am not disputing that that information was made in the books. It could have been written there as it is now. When it was written, I don't know. But the issue is, Brigadier Gininda is giving an impression to the court that that is to demonstrate that indeed he explained accused number 1's right, and he also made an he also came to the conclusion, or that he was satisfied that accused persons at the time when he explained his rights was in his sane and sober senses, and he was in a clear mind, in his clear mind. Now the issue is, did accused number 1 append his signature on the diary as an acknowledgement, as a form of an acknowledgement that yes, Brigadier, I am going to sign, as an indication that you indeed explained my rights?
No, but he's answered this question.
And
sorry, he says that's not the procedure. The procedure, according to him, is the way he did it.
Yes.
Nobody signs except himself. He writes on the diary.
Yes, my lord. Yes.
And then he says, because he's not taking a confession.
Yes.
And then the person who takes the confession, he gets a form.
Yes.
Where the person that is his officer, like Mboto, for instance,
yes,
asks the questions. There are answers given by whoever.
Yes.
After getting to the end of the page, you sign, he signs, just like that. Am I quoting you correct, sir?
That's correct, my lord.
That's how I understood. Nobody signs, in other words, in the car.
Yes, nobody, my lord.
Yes, my lord. Thank you, Brigadier. So, what you've just, or what you note in the diary in your diary, it's just something neutral in demonstrating that you explained the accused person's right, because there is no acknowledgement by accused of the fact that you explained his rights, not so?
But my lord, you can't document it. This is what I'm saying. There are procedures as to when do you use an official document to give the rights to the accused in terms of Section 35. And that is why I'm saying the formality. In the diary, it's a register that is given to officers to record their duties. The formalities in terms of Section 35 rights are contained in the SAPS 14A. That is a formal form where an accused person formally is given. Second to that, in this instance, it's a confession itself. Closer to that, my lord, you will find in the warning statements, because the rights are also contained. So those are the documents. Here it was investigation. I was documenting what was unfolding right up to Colonel Mboto. But you can't take this, my lord, in isolation of the end product, because the product of Colonel Mboto is as a result of this. And in there, the rights are clearly explained, and accused number one signed with the officer that was taking the confession, that being Colonel Mboto.
Engishoyo ke lana ukuthi ke lana ke ukuqhubeka kophenyo ukwenziwa kophenyo ke la akukho la khona ke asayinda khona ke umsolo wakhe, kodwa ke awukwazi ukuthatha lokhu ke ungakuhlanganisi naloko okwenzeke egcineni ekuyila khona ke uKolonel Mboto wathatha istatement wasayinda khona ke umsolo naye ke uKolonel Mboto, futhi ke amalungelo akhona ke lapha yana zikhona ke futhi ke noma ke ama documents ekuma 14A I-warning statement kanye nayo ke futhi ke i-confession ekuyila asayinda khona ke, kodwa la akukho la asayinda khona ke ngoba ke i-diary incwadi ke oyinikezwayo ukuthi ke ubhale phansi umsebenzi wakho noma lokho kwenzayo.
Thank you, Brigadier. We are agreeing that that information in the diary that you wrote there is not an indication that accused person agrees or agreed that you explained his rights, not so?
My lord, I explained his rights, and that is why, as I said, I wrote in the diary that I explained his right in terms of Section 35, Section 35 of the Constitution of this country, my lord. And I'm saying this has to be read together with the confession of Colonel Mboto, because it flows from there. Colonel Mboto was not part of the investigation. All he was asked by me is to say, I have a person who wants to make a confession. Then he kicks in the formal form that contains the notice of rights, etc., etc. This part was the starting part that led to Colonel Mboto. So this is corroborated with what was said to Colonel Mboto, because if this part was not correct, then Colonel Mboto's existence will become zero. It will not come to an existence. He would have come and said, I've got nothing to say. The existence of Colonel Mboto was activated by me due to the assertions or conversation I had with accused number one of him being willing to make a confession, my lord, to an independent officer.
Amalungelo akho ngawachaza ke noma ngamchazela ke ngawo ingakho ke sase siyofinyelela kuyena ke uKolonel Mboto, ngoma uma ukuthi lokhu ke okubhalwe la kule yami diary ke kwangasilona ke iqiniso ke bengeke kube nalutho ke ebuya ngakuhlangothi lakhe uKolonel Mboto wayezofika ke la enkantolo athi cha akukho ekungakusho ukuze ke kube khona ke uKolonel Mboto ingoba ke kuqale uphenyo ke engangilenza lokho akusho kumina ke kwaholela ethini ngithole yena ke uKolonel Mboto.
Now, Brigadier, you mentioned earlier on that you, had to satisfy yourself that accused person was in his sane and sober senses, and that his mind was clear. Now, and you further said that you did that, or you could see that he had a clear mind, that he was in sane and sober senses, by the manner in which he was responding to you, not so? As you are saying, allegedly, explaining his rights and some of the information that he gave you subsequent to your explaining his rights to him, not so?
Yeah, but I also said, my lord, I asked him.
Yes.
So there was a specific response. There was a question put to him specifically whether he took any substances or intoxicating substances, and the answer was no.
Agcina nje kuthini ke ngikhulume naye ke ngimbone ukuthi cha ke wasemqondweni ngokuphelele kungekho kumphazamisayo, kodwa ngishilo ukuthi ke kunombuzo ke engambuza wona ke ukuthi ingabe akukho yini akusebenzisa noma ayingaphuzile yini.
So in addition to that, my lord, my observation, I had to form an opinion of what is it that I see before me, and I was of the view that he is in his sober and clear senses. So, but it was not one part, it was this part, supported by his assertion, his responses to me, which to me made sense because in my observations, that's what I've noted also, my lord.
Kwase kufuthi ke kuba yilokho mina ke engikubonayo ke kathi ngihlezi naye ke ngikhulumisana naye ke so kwakungasiyona ke nje into eyodwa yilokho akushoyo kumina ke nokuthi futhi ngambuza ke nokuthi nami ngimbheke ngimbone ukuthi ke ukusiphi isimo.
Thank you, Brigadier. Did you ask him when he was arrested, the time at which he got arrested?
No, it was not relevant, my lord. I was already informed. I don't see how I can answer it this way. It was not relevant. I was informed, as I said, by the members that he is arrested during the day of that day. So I was aware. That information was made available to me, I think around 2 or so, just after 1400 hours. So I was aware. There was no point for me to ask him that question, my lord.
Kwakungekho ke noma singekho isidingo sokuthi ke ngimuze ke ukuthi waboshwa ngasikhatsini ngoba ngase ngitsheliwe ke lokho abaphenyi noma ke ithimba leli ke kwakuyilona elali hamba naye ke babe sebengitshelile ke emini ngabo ma2 ukuthi ke waboshwa nini. Sasingekho isidingo sokuthi ngimbuze.
So was it also not relevant for you to ask him if he had something to eat, he had something to drink? Like, is it not alcohol? Like water, could drink and so forth? So it was also not necessary for you to ask him those questions?
No. What was important to me, my lord, as I've said earlier, was to ensure that he understands his constitutional rights. And that is why I said I warned him twice. First, I gave him his rights in terms of the constitution when I arrived because I knew he was arrested. And then we moved to the second part where I elicit the responses, and then we moved to the confession. So my focus was to ensure that he understands his constitutional rights, which he did, and then we moved to the next part where I wanted to understand, or rather establish, what does he select to do. And then upon receiving those answers, then we moved to the confession. So we didn't come to the issues of food and during that discussion, my lord.
Nkathi ke ngikhulumisana naye ke okokudla ke noma ke inkulumo ephathelene nako ke ukudla zange sifike kuzona ke mina ke kwasengitsheliwe ukuthi ke uboshiwe nokuthi ke ngitholeke ukuthi ngabe amalungelo akhe uyawazi yini noma ke uwachazele yini base ke sasesindlulela ke la esesiyofikela khona ke la eseyogonyuluka khona noma ezoyokhuluma naye ke uKennel Mbotho.
So your short answer to my short question is you did not deem it fit or necessary, it is not necessary for you to ask him if he had something to eat?
No, my lord, in terms of the constitutional rights, there is no such a question that you must give that right to a suspect. You give the right in terms of Section 35 constitutional rights. There is no such. What I made clear to him is the rights that are contained in terms of the Constitution, and that he is free to speak to me freely and voluntarily. And that is why I moved away the members who arrested him, so that I can remain with him to create a sense of accountability. And if he raised such, for example, that he needs water, he needs to eat, I would have assisted him. There would have been no reason for me if such was asked to me for me to say no. But there was no such that was posed, and my focus was the issue of the constitutional rights, which he clearly understood and elected in terms of the responses that he wanted to do.
Mina ngoba ke uma ufundela umuntu noma ke amalungelo lawo akhona ke ku umgaqo sekelo ke akukho la ekhuluma khona ke ngokuthi ke kufanele ubuzeke ngokudla. Mina ke ngangigcele ekuthini ngenza isiqiniseko sokuthi ke amalungelo akhe ke uyawazi noma ke uyawezwa. Ingakho ke ngacela ke nalaba engafika ke bekhona lapho ukuthi ake basishiyeke kube yimina naye ke ukuze naye ke azokhululeka uma ngabe ekhulumisana nami. Uma sasikhona ke isicelo sinjalo ukuthi ucela amanzi noma ucela ukudla ke ngangizomsiza noma ngangizomlekelela ngalokho.
Sorry, my lord. The other part that is close to the question that Advocate Mnisi is asking me is the right that says, because I gave it to him, I knew he was already detained, is the right that says he's got a right to be detained in an environment that is suitable with human condition. So that is suitable to a human condition. Obviously, that includes water, food, and so forth. So that's how far I would think I would have taken this part, because I explained these rights on the background of knowing that he is already arrested for the case of drug dealing.
Ilungelo ke ngicabanga ukuthi ke linikileke noma ke liseduze ke kulelo ke likhona ke nalo kumalungelo abasola noma ke umuntu oboshiwe awafundelayo ukuthi unelungelo ke lokuthi ke uma eboshwa ke indawo ke agcinwa noma avalelwa kuyona ke kube yindawo ke ehambisana ke nendlela ekuyiyona noma efanelekile nezimo zabantu noma ehambisana nezimo umuntu ekufanele ahlale ngaphansi kwazo.
Brigadier, is that what is also contained in your diary? That you told to him that as part of, I had it at the back of my mind, that is because he's a detained person, he had to be kept in humanly possible conditions and all those. Is that also what is contained in your diary?
No, it's not contained, my lord. But what is contained in my evidence previously, not only now, is that the accused was warned twice. I did indicate, and I did say on the previous record that the first part was because I was aware that he was detained. I was informed, and I wanted to make sure that he understands his rights insofar as the second part. The second part, I was now moving to this matter and trying to establish what is it that he elects to do insofar as this matter is concerned, my lord.
Okwenzeka ke lokhu ongizobona ukuthi ke ngakusho ke cha akubhaliwe noma kukho kwidiary kodwa ke engikushilo ngaphambilini engisakusho namanje ukuthi ke uma exwayiso ngawo amalungelo akhe lokho kwenziwa ke kabili ngoba ngangazi ukuthi kwayiboshiwe ke ngenza ke isiqinisekiso sokuthi ke lokho futhi ngiyakwenza ke ngimtshele ngawo amalungelo akhe uma sengidlulela ke manje kuleli ke icala ke mayelana nokuthi ke yini ke ayikwaziyo ke mayelana naleli cala ngaphinde futhi ke ngamexwayisa ngawo amalungelo akhe.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now, you are saying a person can only be given you made mention of this 14A rights so many times. I'm trying to make sense of under what context that you really mentioned that, but I heard you saying a person can be given his full rights in terms of the section 4A notice, 14A notice. Did I hear you well there?
No, not correctly. You heard me partly, my lord. And I was responding to the question to say the formalities when you give an accused or a suspect rights in terms of the constitution. The first form that you will have is SAP 14A that gives the constitutional rights of the suspect or the accused person that is being detained. So I was flowing in terms of the formalities. In other words, the official document that compels police officers to give rights, because when a person gets detained, you have to give this form. It must be completed by the police officer, the accused person must sign, and the police officer that administers those rights must also sign. And I said that was the first part. Then I said the second part, when the officer, like in this instance, Colonel Mboto, is taking down or was taking down the confession, then he has a duty based on that pro forma to give the constitutional rights to the accused because they are contained. And in that form, there is a space where the deponent, meaning the accused, has to sign and Colonel Mboto has to sign. And then I said, thirdly, when you deal with a warning statement, and I'm talking about official documents, my lord, there is a portion as well that deals with the constitutional rights of the accused. And then the accused person must sign, and the officer, the member that is taking the warning statement must also sign. And I was saying, this diary that I was dealing with, it's not one of those documents. It's a police diary where I need to document my activities as I conduct my duties officially. And I recorded them in summarizing my investigation.
Uma bengikhuluma ngayo ke i14A bengikhuluma lana ke ngawo ke ama documents ekuyiwona ke asetshenziswayo ke asemthethweni ke la khona ke futhi umsolwa ke asayinda khona ukuthi uma ngabe umuntu eboshwa amanye ke ama documents oqala awatholayo ke anamalungelo akhe uyasayinda khona nalo omnikezayo futhi abese sayinda. Okwesibili ke ngakhuluma ngayo ke i-confession lena ukuthi ke nalapho ke amalungelo akhe mangichazela ke ngawo abese yasayina futhi nalowo ekuyiyena othatha leyo confession kuyena naye asayine. Okwesithathu ke ngakhuluma ngayo i-warning statement, ngikhuluma lana ke ngama documents ekuyiwona ke asayindwayo ekugcineni ke ngabe sengikhuluma ngayo ke lena i-diary ukuthi yona ke akusiyona ke enye yalawo ma documents la khona ke umsola azosayinda khona.
Thank you, Brigadier. So you recognize the fact that there are official documents which have been designated by subs-members in the, not subs-members, by the subs-institution, by the police institution in dealing with suspects or arrested people or detained people. And they are the section 14A notice of right, as you're putting it, the official document, which is the document that is used by an officer who takes a confession, if there's going to be a confession that gets taken. And there is that warning form, that 13M in bracket M form, which are the documents that the accused persons should also sign after the person that is reading out that information to them is also signed, not so?
My lord, it is so. However, you see, because these forms I'm talking about, my lord, for example, 14A, let's deal with it. It kicks in at the cells. It does not mean that when you meet the accused person on the street or a suspect, you do not have to notify them of their constitutional right. You have a duty. In fact, you are compelled to do that before you start doing anything. The 14A, the taking down of the confession, the taking down of the warning statement comes at a later stage. But as soon as you engage a suspect, you have a duty to warn that suspect person according to his constitutional rights, even if you don't have the 14A. That is why, my lord, you'll see, for the sake of convenience and making things easier, previously in the pocket books for non-commissioned officers, they will then record those rights so that if they don't remember, they can read the rights to the arrested person, because it's a constitutional right that the person must be aware what he's getting himself into with the police when he answers question or what he elects to do. 14A will kick in at the police station, but between the time of arrest and the police station, a lot would have transpired. Same like with this accused. From the time I engage him to the time that he was detained in Valera later, a lot had transpired. So it was his constitutional right to be fully aware of his constitutional rights and elect what he wants to do freely and voluntarily, my lord.
Uma sikhuluma ke nge14A, i14A yona ke manje iza kamuva noma ke yona ke iza ke kuma cell kuyafana ke nayo ke i-confession lena ke, kodwa lokho akusho ke ukuthi uma ngabe uhlangana naye ke umsolwa estradini ukuthi manje uma ungayona lama documents ungenawo ke ukuthi ungamtsheli ke ngawo amalungelo akhe, ngoba ngaleso sikhathi leso ke ama documents lawo kuwena ke awaphethe. Kodwa ngaso nasiphi isikhathi uma ke uhlangana naye ke umsolwa, okokuqala okwenzayo ukuthi umtshela ngawo amalungelo akhe, ngoba ke phakathi kwalesikhathi ke ohlangana naso nomsolwa noma ke eboshwa kufinyela kwisikhathi ke la efinyela khona ke kuma cells kuningi ke okwenzekayo kuleso sikhathi, nalana ke kwenzeka ukuthi ngenkathi eboshwa eyake eValeria esefuthi ke eyohlangana noMbothe kuningi ke okwenzekile, kodwa lokho akusho ukuthi ke ungamtsheli noma ungamaziswe ngawo amalungelo akhe. Ingakho ke inkathi zangaphambilini ke bekunalokho bekubizwa ngokuthi ke ama pocket book, ukuthi ke uma ngabe ke umuntu engasewakhumbuli bebethi bawabhale phansi ukuze amfundele wona.
But Brigadier, my question was, do you then recognize and acknowledge that the official documents were in, or that are supposed to be used, where a suspect is either in detention, has been arrested, or is in custody, or when an interview gets conducted with him, are those documents wherein that suspect, after having received the content of those documents from the officers that are dealing with them, they also need to sign in those documents alongside the officer who would have read out that information to them. Not so. That you acknowledge, not so.
I acknowledge what is being said, my lord. What I don't want to come out unclear is that this part comes after the rights are already administered way before. It does not mean that when you come across the suspect that during the course of investigation, then you must automatically have the 14A. You will not find it. It's lying in the holding cells. You embark on investigation, you come across the suspect, you have a duty to warn that person according to his or her constitutional rights. There is no form there in terms of the 14A, there is no warning statement, and there isn't a confession form even for that matter. But you have a duty to inform this person of his and her rights. You can't keep that part away and say this part is silent until you formalize the recordings at the police station. It starts there, and then the answers that are given to you by that person must be respected as well. And then the end product in terms of the formal document kicks in later, warning statement. So the warning statement and the registers I'm referring to are on the other side, not at the beginning, my lord.
Engisho ngikhulumayo ke lana yebo ungasho ukuthi ke kulawo ma documents lawo uyasayinda ke lo okunika uyena onikezwa amalungelo nalona futhi kuyena owanikayo noma ke owashoyo ke, kodwa ke lokho ke kuhlangana nako ke e-police station noma ke kuma-cell. Akusho ukuthi uma ngabe uhlangana naye ke umsolwa noma ke inkathi yokwenza kwakho ke uphenyo ukuthi ke ngoba lapho ke i-warning statement ayikho, i-SAP 14A ayikho, kanye nayo ke i-document le ama-confessions ayikho, kodwa ke lokho akukuvimbi ukuthi ke ungamtsheli noma ke ungamchazeli ke ngawo amalungelo akhe, ngoba lokho kufanele ukuthi ke ukwenzeke kamuva ke uma ngabe usufikile khona ke police station, yila khona ke ama-documents esengena khona.
Let's go back to the parking, Brigadier. Remember, we're still at the parking, at the parking lot or the parking base of Forslores police station. Thank you. Now, Brigadier, as a seasoned investigator, there's a police station. We are actually within the precinct of the police station. I don't know how far that police station was from you, from where you conducted that interview with that accused person while seated in that red Golf. But you are at the police station. Is there anything that really stopped you from saying accused? let me go and request that we be allocated with an office in this police station for us to go sit in the police station in the office to conduct this investigation?
My Lord, no. There was nothing that prohibiting me, but as I've said, my Lord, you need to take the context of how we found ourselves there and what was pending. And that's why I explained that I was informed by the members that they were en route. If I wanted to interview the accused, if there were no other engagements, I would have told them to bring him directly to the provincial office or the national office, because that's my office. But not wanting to interfere with their line of investigation, when they told me they were going to Phosphorus, I asked them to meet me at Phosphorus police station because they were en route. That's the first part, my Lord. Then the second part, I had no knowledge of knowing in advance that when I get to accused number 1, he will confirm that he's making a confession and make a confession to me. I didn't know. Now, with that limited information, on what basis do I activate the formalities of the office to do what, my Lord? Because like I said, if I go to him and I detected that, for example, he was not in his sober and clear senses, that would have been the end of my engagement with him in terms of protecting his right. Or if I go to him and he says, no, I've changed my mind, I do not want to make any statements, that is the end of it. Meaning, when this discussion between myself and him ends, the members must carry on with the investigation, because the purpose was not to interfere with the investigation. It was only when it became clear that he was implicating himself in this case and he was willing to make a statement freely and voluntarily to someone independent, that I then kicked in and said, let's go to Eraton. So I could not have arranged an office for something that I do not know at the time, my Lord.
Akukho ke okwakungivimba ukuthi ke ngingasebenziseke ehhovisi nanjengoba ke sasi lapho ke eFosters lase police station, kodwa ngangizothi uma manje sengenza ke amalungiselelo ukuthi ngihambe ngehhovisi ngithi ngiyokwenzani ke lapho, ngoba ke angazi ukuthi wayini awazoyikhuluma kumina ke nokuthi wayizothi yebo lokhu ke okuzwile yebo ngisakusho ngiyaqhubeka ngabo, noma uma ngifika kuyena athi cha lokhu ke okuzwile angisaqhubekeki ngakho angisakusho ke. Futhi ke lana okunye futhi okufanele unakeke ukuthi lana ke kwakuphenywa ke kuphenywa elinye icala bangitshela ukuthi baya eFosters, ila engabacela khona ukuthi asihlanganeni ke eFosters. Manje ke ukuthi ke isikhathi sasizosola kuphi ke nokuthi ngizokuthi ngikwenza kanjani ukuthi ngihambe ngiyocela ihhovisi khona lapho ngingazi ukuthi yini le engangizoyitshelwa uyena umsola. Kungenkathi ke esengikhuluma naye esengitshela ke lokho angitshela khona la engathi khona ke manje sekulungeleke ukuthi angakhuluma nelinye iphoyisa elingahlangene naloliphenyo, ngathi ke akuhanjwe kuyiwe eEraton.
Brigadier, there's nothing that we're disturbing here. You are already at the police station. In any event, you had already disturbed their movement by saying to them, let us meet at the police station. We are now at the police station. And you know that there's a person, you knew that there's a person that I needed to conduct an interview with, and I'm within the precinct of the police station. And you are saying it was not necessary for you to request an office in that police station where you are, where you could have, which office you could have utilized to conduct this interview with the accused person. Is that what you're saying?
No, no, my Lord. I think I've tried to explain, my Lord, and I'll repeat again. The members, the arresting team that arrested accused number 1 were en route to Phosphorus. That is why I had to drive and meet them in Phosphorus so that I don't take them out of their route from the place where accused number 1 was arrested. So that's the first part, my Lord.
Okokuqala ke nanjengoba bengishilo ukuthi ithimba leli ke babephenya futhi basho ke ukuthi basebenza khona ke eFosters, ingakho ngathi ke asihlanganeni eFosters ngingabakhiphi ke la umzila lo ababehamba kuona noma umgwaqo lo ababehamba kuona.
And secondly, my Lord, I did not know what accused number 1 will say to me in advance, because I didn't speak to him. I was just told he's making some form of admission. I needed to speak to him, and to make sure that he is aware of his rights, as I alluded, my Lord. When that part was done, that's when then I made a request to divert them from their way now, to say, please park what you are doing, let us proceed now to Eroton, because then this part for me, it was important that the interest of justice, insofar as this matter is concerned, is also taken into account in light of the confession that he was making. But that came after, my lord, it became clear that he was aware of his right, freely and voluntary, making such assertions, and he was willing to make the confession to an independent officer. For example, my lord, had he said to me, yes, I want to make a confession, but I want to make it to you, I don't want to go to an independent officer, then yes, I would not have taken the confession in the car. I would have then found it necessary to arrange an office there to sit down and formalize the writing if he made that choice. But when he said, yes, I'm willing, then I started making the arrangements. Prior to that, I didn't see a need, my lord, to arrange an office at Fosoras ACPS.
Okwesibili ke ngangakwazi awayizokusho kumina ke umsolwa ngakho kwakufanele ukuthi ngihlangane naye ke ngikhulumisane naye ngibe nesiqiniseko sokuthi amalungelo akhe uyawazi uyawezwa ngiqiniseke futhi ukuthi ke ngikwasemqondweni ke umqondo wakhe ke akukho okumphazamisayo ke ukwisimo sokuthi ke angathi akhulumeke kusemuva ke ukuthi ngikhulumile naye ke ngase ngizwa ke lokhu ayengitshela kona la engenza isicelo kulaba ke babehamba naye ke ukuthi manje ke ngenxa ke yobulungiswa kusemqoka ke lokhu angitshela kona ke ngiyacela ukuthi manje ngabusaqhubeka asimini ngalokhu ninake ebenikuzele lana kodwa ke siqhubeke ngalokhu futhi ke uma kuwukuthi wayeshilo ke kumina yebo ngazi ukuthi ke lokho abayikusho wayigonyuluka noma kuyi confession kodwa ke ngoba wayeshilo ukuthi uyimisela ukuthi akakhuluma ke nomunye engasiyona ke ingxenye yethimba leli liphenyayo ngase ke ngimdlulisela ke na ke uKenneth Mboto kodwa uma kuwukuthi wayekhethe ukuthi yebo ngiyafuna ukuthi ngikhulume kodwa ngifuna ukukhuluma kuwena ke yila enganizofuna khona ke ihhovisi khona lapha yana epolice station kodwa ayisikona lokho awakukhetha.
Thank you, Brigadier. I see you taking off your jacket. It's getting hot. I would have requested to take my gown out as well. It's really getting hot. But unfortunately, ethics do not allow me to do that. Thank you, Brigadier. Are you then saying, Brigadier, that you needed to know first what the accused would have said before you would have requested for an office there at Fosoras police station?
No, my lord. I'm saying I could not have arranged an office when I do not know what I'm arranging an office for. That is the essence of my question, of my response. I arrange an office for what purpose? The members are telling me their own route to Fosoras. I know based on that information, my lord, based on my experience, it can go two ways. I can go there, the accused may have changed his mind, the members must carry on with their line of investigation. Hence, I wanted to meet them en route of what they were doing. Or he decided now, I don't want to carry on with what I've said. You know, I didn't know, my lord. And based on that, I could not have arranged an office for something that I don't know. That's what I'm saying, my lord.
Engikushoyo ukuthi ngangazi ukuthi ke yini ke engangizofika uma ngifika kuyena ke umsolo ayisho kumina ke ngangafika lapho aqhubeke ngempela nalokho engakutshela ukuthi yikona ayivuma ngangafika lapho athi kumina ke cha angisakhulumi ke lento oyizwile ukuthi ayiyona ke ngishoyo futhi manje bangishilo ke ukuthi ke babeqhubeka ke nophenyo labo ngase ngibacela ukuthi asihlangane khona ke eFosoras ngangeke ke ngifune ihhovisi ngingazi ukuthi yini ngizothi ihhovisi ngilifunelani yini engizoyitshela uyena umsolo.
Thank you, Brigadier. Are you again, Brigadier, saying that you did not arrange or you did not request an office at Fosoras police station in whose packing you conducted this interview with this accused, when you knew that the reason why you had to go to Fosoras police station was to go and interview accused? Number one. That interview of accused number one, was that not the reason why you should have requested for an office at Fosoras police station?
No, my lord.
Yes.
Investigations, when you're embarking on an investigation, and I'm saying this with greatest respect, I'm not aware that when we investigate, every time want to engage with an accused person or a suspect, you must arrange an office for them. Suspects get arrested on the street, they are given their rights. Police officers, based on the information that they have, if they need to follow it up, they follow it up. You can't say first you must go to the office before you start questioning a person to follow up certain things. That's not how it's done. It's not practical. It's if you have knowledge, meaning like the end results where the person, meaning accused number one, says, I am willing to make this confession to a free and independent person, then the formalities of the person and the arrangement and the offices kicks in. But you cannot now, when you meet the suspect for the first time, it must be taken note, my lord, that this was the first time I was meeting accused number one myself. I didn't know what he was going to say. I was going there first to ensure that his rights, he's aware of his rights and hear what he needs to say. It was in the scope of investigation. What do I arrange for what, my lord, when I've not heard what he wants to say to me, and what mechanism I'm going to put in place to document what he's telling me? It was premature, my lord.
Kumina-ke ukuthi-ke kufuneke ihhovisi ngithi ke ngizocela ihhovisi ngangizothi lokho ngikwenzelani ke ngoba ke kuyenzeka ukuthi ke abasolwa ke akukho engikwaziyo mina ke njengephoyisa engikwaziyo ukuthi ke uma ngabe uhlangana naye umsolwa kufanele umthathe ke noma uhlangane naye ke ehhovisi abasolwa ke bayaboshwa noma bayavinjwa ke emgwaqweni kwenziwe ke kodwa uma ngabe manje sekufanele ke kuthathwe ke istatement labakhonjuluka khona ama confessions ila seqala khona ukuthi kukhulunywe ke ngendaba zamahhovisi kwakuqala ke ngihlangana naye ke umsolwa oqala ngaleli langa ngakho ngangazi ukuthi kwakuyini ayezoyikhuluma noma ke ayezoyisho mina.
Brigadier, wait. Are you saying for a suspect to be accorded the dignity as a human being of being interviewed in an office, the interviewer first needs to know what is it that the suspect will be telling him? Is that what you're telling this court?
No, but that's not what I'm saying, my lord. And it's incorrect to say that. My understanding of the constitutional rights, my lord, in terms of Section 35, there is nowhere in that provision where it says those rights must be given in an office. What the Constitution make it very clear is that the suspect must be made aware of his constitutional rights. Whether it's in the car, whether you're standing with him, he must know his rights. There is no provision that says it must be in an office as part of his constitutional rights. I'm not aware of that. That is why I said that was not something I could have arranged, because I didn't know what he was going to say, except to be focusing on his constitutional rights and then moving it from there, my lord.
Engishoyo ukuthi ke kuona ke umthetho sisekelo angazi kukhona noma la usho khona ke ukuthi ke uma kufanele uchazeleke noma usho amalungelo ke nomsola ukuthi lokho kufanele ke ukwenze ehhovisi. Engishoyo ukuthi ke okwami kwakuqinisekisa ke ukuthi lapha yana amalungelo akhe uyawachazela futhi ke uyawezwa ngalendlela leyo ke awachazelwa noma ashiwo ngayo uyena.
Thank you, Brigadier. That is your understanding of how the process happens or should be done, not so. Your own understanding, not so.
No, that's not my understanding. It's what Section 35 says. Nowhere in Section 35 does it say those rights must be given in an office. I've read it, my lord. There's no such edition or section that says it must be done at the office. Whether it's on the street or even in the accused's house, when we are engaging him, what I'm aware, he or she must be made aware of his constitutional rights, and the responses, whatever the person elects to do, must then be respected in terms of the Constitution. There is no insertion there that says it must be in the offices. I'm not aware of such, my lord.
Engishoyo ukuthi ke mina angazi kukhona noma ke akukho lapho kuona ke umthetho sisekelo la eshoyo khona ke ukuthi lokho makwenziwa kufanele kwenziwe ke ehhovisi. Akusiyona ke indlela engichaza ngayo, kodwa ngithi nje akukho lapho umthetho sisekelo. Uma ngabe umnikeza amalungelo lokho ungakwenza la uhlangana naye khona noma kusemgaqweni noma kusendlini yakhe, ukuthi nje okuba kusemqoka ukuthi kufanele ukuthi awatshele.
Brigadier Gininda, on the same token, which is your interpretation of Section 35, that very same Section 35 does not say the explanation of these rights can be done where you want to go do them, not so. Section 35 simply says these rights must be explained. It doesn't say you need to go and explain them wherever you are or in the police or in the office. Not so.
My Lord, my understanding of us police officers, when we start now looking at Section 35, you look into that section when you engage with a suspect person that you're investigating, so that that person is aware of the investigation that you're conducting, his constitutional right in terms of what he needs to do in terms of lawyers and all other rights that are there, my Lord. That is my understanding. So that engagement is not limited to the office, to the street, to anywhere. And that's why I said there is no specification which says it must be done only in the offices. Wherever you engage the person of interest, a suspect, as long as you know that now this person before you is a suspect and you want to engage with this individual in terms of the case you are investigating, it is your duty to inform that person in terms of his constitutional rights, wherever that person may be, my Lord. Whether it's a bedroom, it's on the street, it's on the car, my understanding of that provision is that you have an obligation to make that person aware of his rights before you engage that person in terms of your investigation.
Nanjengamaphoyisa ke sikwaziyo ukuthi noma ke okushiwo uyena ke uShekin 35 akukho la agcizelela khona ke noma ashoyo ke khona ke ukuthi lokhu kufanele kwenziwe endaweni ethize noma endaweni ethizeni la uhlangana khona ke noma lo muntu uhlangane naye emgwaqweni noma lo muntu uhlangane noma ke uhlangane naye esekampeni lakhe esendlini yakhe akukho la ethi khona ke kufanele kube sehhovisi noma endaweni ethize okusemqoka ukuthi nje ngaphambili kokuthi ke ungaqhubeka wenze noma yini ke ofuna ukuthi uyenzeke naye kufanele ukuthi amalungelo lawo akhe awachazele.
So those are the reasons why, Brigadier, you then decided to conduct this interview. And I want you to mark this word interview as we close for today with accused number 1 in the motor vehicle. Those are the reasons why you decided to conduct this interview with accused number 1 in the vehicle, because Section 35 does not prescribe where these rights must be explained, that you did not know what this accused person would have come and tell you, and all these other things that you said.
No, my Lord, I'm saying Section 35 does not limit, that's my understanding of Section 35, limit you as a police officer to only give those rights when the accused person or suspect is sitting in the office. You have a duty to give those rights even if he's on the street. Once you know this person is a person of interest and you want now to pursue that person in the course of investigation. That is why I emphasized the point, my Lord, that it was part of this investigation that made me to go to Phosphorus. It was not an issue of saying, I'm going now to Phosphorus to take a warning statement, a formal interview. That is a different situation. That was not what drove me to Phosphorus. It was part of the investigation. In the midst of the investigation, then we engaged in terms of Section 35. Subsequent to the response that was given to me, when I said to accused number 1, I have a reason to believe that you are involved in them, you may be involved in the matter of Senzo Meyiwa. Then the utterances then changed the direction, as I'm saying, my Lord, that led to Colonel Mboto. The purpose was investigation. This is important. And then the rights is the paramount key that the accused must be aware of. His responses then moved the direction to Colonel Mboto.
Lana ke ngangayile noma ngangayi eFosloras ngoba ngangiya lapho ngiyothatha khona ke i-warning statement kwakuyingxenye ke yoqhubeka nophenyo kulokho ke noqiniseka ke futhi ke ukuthi amalungelo akhe ngiyamtshela nokuthi futhi ke uyawezwa kulokho ke noma ke mase ngimtshela ke noma ngisho ke na ke ukuthi ke nezathu sokholelwa ukuthi ke uyambandakanyeka ekubulaweni kwakhe uSenzo Meyiwa impendulo zakhe ke noma ke lokho akusho emuva kwalokho ekwaholela ke ekuthini siyo finyelela ke noma siyofica kuyena uKolonel Mboto.
Now, Brigadier, we know that the point at which we are now, we are at the police station. We are not in the bushes, we are not in the field, we are not in the streets, we are in the perimeters of the police station. Not so?
Yes, we agree, my Lord.
Thank you.
Yebo siyavuma ukuthi sasise police station.
My Lord, it's 3:30. May I request for an adjournment for the day?
Okay,
Thank you.
available tomorrow, sir?
Yes, I am, my lord.
Okay, adjourn until tomorrow, 10.